The Alex can be a controversial mobile suit to talk about, at best. At worst, many players will write it off as simply not being good. There are some who still believe in this late One-Year War era Gundam. Even fewer who know how to bring out the best in it. We are all human after all, and this beast was intended for new types. Despite the naysayers, tryhards, haters, and meta players, the Alex is without a doubt my #1 favorite mobile suit in Gundam Battle Operation 2. The thing is, however, that it didn't start off that way. This is how the Alex became my favorite mobile suit, and how it got me to A rating. Before we begin, let me set the record straight. The Alex is not a bad mobile suit in the anime. Let's go step by step here. First of all, the Alex was built with new types in mind, more specifically for Amuro Ray. This meant that there was no normal human test pilot who was going to be able to get the most out of the Alex. Second of all, Christina McKenzie was a test pilot with no combat experience. She had never seen live combat before the events of War in the Pocket. So the fact that she was able to take out 2 elite Zeon pilots with the limited Alex is impressive enough. Third of all, Christina McKenzie only struggled against the Zaku 2 Kai in the end because she chose to give up her open terrain advantage so she could limit damage to the residents of the colony. This is even mentioned in the anime. The Alex is best in flat terrain.
Both units are headed for the foothills, sir.
Lieutenant McKenzie, hold back now! You have the advantage on flat ground.
Foothills have no civilians.
What?
I'm headed for the forest.
Remember this for later in the video. And fourth of all, the Alex did not lose the fight in the end. It was heavily damaged, but its pilot survived, while the Zaku 2 Kai's pilot, Bernie, was turned into a pile of hamburger meat. If you watch the anime again, you can see that she specifically aimed for the Zaku 2 Kai's cockpit so she could limit damage to the colony, just like Amuro did in his first battle at Side 7. She likely purposely sacrificed Alex's head so she can get an opening with the beam saber, similar to how some MMA fighters will sacrifice a part of their bodies so that they could later create an opening for a finishing move. Now, back to Gundam Battle Operation 2. Like many who started playing the game in the beginning, I made a mistake when I first used the Alex. Instead of using the beam rifle, I used the bazooka. This was because at the time, many players had only just started to learn how to perform stun and melee combos, and you can't really blame someone for picking the bazooka. The Alex Hyper Bazooka only takes 5 seconds to cool down in between shots. Compare that to every other bazooka, and the closest any of them get is the high mobility G rocket launcher with 6 seconds and with only 6 rounds instead of the Alex's 8 rounds. The only ones that really surpass it are the GM2's harpoon gun and the Gundam Super Napalm. So on paper, one can see why they might choose the bazooka. Combine that with the Alex's mobility at 450, its devastating arm 90mm Gatling cannon, and its level 2 emergency evasion system, it might appear to be really good at close range. That's what I thought in the beginning anyways. I used it on a few occasions, but never really got any amazing results with it. The Alex has 2 major flaws, one of which is constantly brought up by its doubters. It has low HP for its cost range, and the second that doesn't get mentioned as often is that its legs are more prone to breaking than most other generals. I eventually moved on and tried other mobile suits. I remember especially being big on GMs at the time. I still am, in fact. For a while, I began focusing on increasing my rating so that I can gain more XP and data points per match. The mobile suit I used the most was the GM Kai. I must have used it over 600 times between all its levels. It was good enough to give me a solid B rating, but then power creep caught up to it. I couldn't rely on it as much to carry me into the A's. In some cases, I would drop down to a B- rating. In the end, I arrived at the conclusion that I needed to find a new favorite mobile suit. It was a hard breakup, but one that needed to happen. We still keep in touch from time to time. It's doing well for itself. It even got a level 4 a while back, and now walks around 350 lobbies with a level 4 bullpup machine gun. Anyways, I first tried the Gundam ground type. It started off with the bazooka, but I eventually moved on to the beam rifle. This was before power creep also caught up to it. I wasn't the biggest fan of having to charge a weapon for 4 seconds before I could stun an enemy, but I had always liked stories that build suspense to a character that needs to buy enough time to charge up for an attack. That's ultimately how I view focusing the beam rifle.
As long as you can give me.
I eventually got the hang of it and really liked how it felt, but even that had its limits. I moved on over to the Gundam itself. Its beam rifle only took 2 seconds to focus. Combine that with its level 3 melee priority, and it was a solid suit. I like to think of it like the old Toyota pickup truck of mobile suits. It doesn't seem that special, but it makes up for it with its simplicity and resiliency. But again, it had its limits. I settled in with the GM dominance for a while after that. It had a little bit of everything. Either a twin beam rifle or a bazooka for a primary weapon, 2 melee weapons, a solid secondary machine gun, and grenades on the side. The GM dominance was solid in quick matches. I remember having a lot of fun with it. I even had my best grenade throw of all time with it. In ready matches, however, it just had some limit to it. I couldn't exactly explain it, but it wasn't enough to carry me. Maybe it was just bad luck. The breakup hurt more than I thought it would. I think some part of me really wanted to believe that it was the one. In the end, I had to search again for a mobile suit that I could say was my #1 favorite. At last, I returned to the Alex. I decided to take a second look at the beam rifle, partly out of curiosity and partly out of boredom. This time, I had plenty of practice with charging beam rifles and figured why not give it a try. The Alex beam rifle takes 3 seconds to focus, has a 0.8 cooldown rate in between shots, and only has a heat rate of 30%. Compared to the Gundam's beam rifle, 55% heat rate, and the ground type's 50%, 30% felt like I had a semi-automatic rifle. Without knowing it, I had spent the previous months preparing for this. I wasn't ready for the Alex in the beginning, but with enough preparation and experience, I was finally skilled enough to know how to use it to the best of its capabilities. Even the GM dominance gave me vital experience with using the machine gun as a secondary weapon. Now, of course, I still knew that the Alex's low HP was an issue. That meant that I had to focus on using custom parts to make up for that. So I focused on beefing up the legs, its HP, and even its shield. I made sure to increase its damage resistance as well, with whatever room was left. I did everything I could to increase its survivability. This is a mobile suit that requires you to work with it. Take care of it and it will take care of you. And when I finally returned to the battlefield with the Alex, things got real fast. There wasn't even a warm-up phase. No weeks of practice like I needed with the GM Sniper 2. Once I got into a match with the beam rifle, there was no going back. I had officially left the meta, and I was no longer part of the Matrix. The Alex is not meant to be constantly fighting at close range. It's meant more for mid-range combat with a heavy focus on DPS. Keep firing and maintain self-control not to overheat the rifle. Use everything you have. Focus the beam rifle, shoot it, shoot again, switch to the armed Gatling cannon, and either return to the rifle or use the head Vulcans before repeating the cycle. Remember, the Alex has the advantage in open terrain. Keep moving and let the other player make the mistakes. Pretty soon, 450 with the Alex felt like I was playing the game on easy mode. At times, it felt like a walk through the park, and getting a top score almost seemed like second nature. And whenever going into 500 cost matches, I honestly couldn't feel the difference in difficulty between 450 and 500, but I suppose we can call it like playing the game on normal difficulty. .550 I suppose could be called playing the game on hard mode. I know there are doubters out there who say the Alex has no place there, but it is more than doable. It still holds its own in 550 with no problem, provided you have enough experience. And I definitely have no problem taking it to 550. As for 600 cost matches,
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
You shouldn't have did that.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
600 cost matches may be like playing the game on extra hard mode, or legendary or insanity difficulty, but it is perfectly able to survive and do well in. The margin of error is a lot bigger, of course, but it can still do a lot of damage and come out on top. Tell me, have you ever seen a Hazel run away from an Alex at 600? Well, now you have. Have you ever seen an Atlas struggle against an Alex? Well, now you have. This is what got me to the solid A rating. It can even get me higher if I ever decide to play more rating matches again. Now, to address its low HP problem, well, it is very much a true fact, and if it were ever buffed with more HP just like how the GM command was buffed, I would welcome it. But ask yourself, imagine if you would, what more could I do with the Alex if I had more HP? Such a thought might be a terrifying one to have. For me, personally, maybe the only buff it needs is to have its legs strengthened. I'm sure most other players might want to give it more HP, which is fine. I won't complain with that. Don't think it really needs it, but I will welcome it nonetheless. Possibly give it more range strength or beef up the beam rifle. Although, again, if used properly, it works fine as is. Before I end this video, some quick honorary mentions. Its twin brother, the Alex CA, is just as good. It is meant to be used differently and has its range and melee strength levels basically reversed, but it can get the job done just as well. The only downside is that it only has a level 1 stuck in 450 at the time of making this video. If I had to guess, I think the only reason why there is no level 5 Alex is because of the Tristan. The Tristan is also a little closer to the Alex CA since it also has more melee strength than range, but it's still just as effective. The only thing the Tristan is missing to take it to the next level is a beam rifle similar to the Alex. Instead of what it has now, simply lowering the heat rate of the beam rifle should be enough. Anyways, this was how the Alex became my favorite suit in the entire game and how it got me to A rating. I don't care what the meta says out there. I don't think anyone should care when it comes to the mobile suit they like or some other character they like in another video game. And I'm glad I was never on Reddit or listened to some Discord where they completely write off certain mobile suits. If I had, I may have never given the Alex a second chance, and I may have given up on the game long ago. What are some of your favorite misunderstood or disregarded mobile suits? Maybe it's not even a mobile suit, but a weapon many tend to think isn't good. Let me know in the comments. As always, this has been Mobile Suit K9 in the Alex, heading out.